Welcome to the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, your guide to motorsports sponsorship. Here's your host, Josh Weesey.
Welcome to this live episode of the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, which is powered by 4Wheel Parts. I am going live on Halloween night here, both Facebook and Instagram, to talk about basically a couple of ways that you can make your sponsorship program legit. I got some disclaimers that come along with this episode too, which I'll be talking about in a minute. But for those of you who can't see me, I got my Iron Man hoodie on. If you don't know this already, Iron Man is my favorite superhero. Has been for a long time. I have a couple Iron Man shirts. This just happens to be the one that came out today. So either way, excited about that and excited to talk about this information. First off, depending on where you're at right now, it is still October 31st, which means it's still Halloween night. And 4Wheel Parts is a deal right now. You can use the promo code SPOOKY, SPOOKY, all caps, and get 10% off an order of $500 or more. That's a lot of money. So either way, check it out. If it's not Halloween when you listen to it, might as well try it. Who knows? Maybe it's still active. But all right, this is going to be a pretty quick episode tonight. I just want to talk about some ways to, legally make your sponsorship program legit. I know a number of people are already doing this. And I'm not. Here's my disclaimer. Okay, a number of people are doing this already. This is how I run my business, which is the podcast here. But I am not an attorney. I am not a lawyer. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a CPA. You can only listen so much to what I have to say right now. But I have some suggestions. That's all they are, suggestions. About how you might be able to kind of tweak your program, if you don't already have these things in place. So I'm going to go through some of those right now. And again, disclaimer, this is not my profession. I'm not an accountant or a tax attorney or anything like that. But this is my non-professional recommendation. All right, that's enough disclaimers for now. All right, so if you're a racer, if you're a rider, if you're an influencer, whatever it may be, you have this option available to you. I want you to first, number one, I guess I'm not done with the disclaimers. Number one, I want you to look at finding a CPA or, a lawyer or someone who might know, hey, look at that, love the hat, Excited World. Someone who might know the rules of starting a business in whatever state you're in. Because what I'm basically going to recommend for this next one here is, for point 2 is go ahead and open up your own separate business. For example, this podcast is actually run by Impact Fuel LLC. That's my business, and that's how I do all of my operations is through Impact Fuel LLC. I'm in the state of Michigan. I follow all the rules for LLC in the state of Michigan. All right. Now, I went through a couple of things to figure out if LLC was right for me. I want you to do the same. There's different types of corporations. There's all sorts of things. If you're selling things, it might be a little different. If you're providing a service, it might be different. If you're in a different state, I don't know. I'm just telling you, I highly recommend looking into creating a separate business entity for your racing program. So that's like one of those steps. So first, get yourself, someone who can help you along in this process. That's like a tax attorney or a lawyer or something like that. There's even LegalZoom.com, which I think is available in most places. So. JRS Racing is in Michigan too. What's up, Michigan? But LegalZoom, you can do these same things through there. You can, I think, open up your own a business through LegalZoom as well. Walks you through all those things, but that's kind of my point there. For example, like you might have JRS Racing 34 LLC, something like that. Or you might have Travis Pointer LLC, Travis actually does have a business. It's Crash Act Industries LLC. But there's all sorts of limitations, like depending on how much revenue that's coming in, you might have to pick a different business entity. Yeah, so there's a lot going on there. That's why I'm going back to step one. Make sure you got the right people involved. Um, and this does come along with some extra work. So there's benefits, but there's some extra work. Like, at a minimum, you're probably gonna have to create uh, an income statement, which is a profit and loss statement. You can have people do that for you, or if you happen to have some finance background, you might be able to prepare one yourself. It's up to you. Um, Looks like JRS just said something. Check out on Facebook team Michigan EDT. All right, sweet. I have to look at that, but um, yeah, so you can figure out whatever your state offers, set up your LLC, and maybe you have to do a profit and loss statement, maybe you have to do an income statement. That's just part of it. So there's some extra work that comes along with it from a regulatory standpoint, whatever. Like it also comes along with some tax benefits as well. So you essentially start looking at, if you drive to a race, the fuel used to get there is potentially a write-off at that point. Um, so depending on how you set your business up, and if you're spending money anyways, a write-off ends up being a good thing. Write-offs are never good if you're not already going to spend the money, because it is still spending money. But just throwing that out there. So yeah, you do have the opportunity when you're setting up a business like this that now you have write-offs. Now your machine is a write-off. You're depreciating different things as part of your business, and that can have some tax benefits. Okay, the next one here, which is I believe is point 3 if I'm following my points the right way. Get a separate checking or savings account. Most likely, if you're setting up a business, it's gonna be a requirement anyways. But get that separate account. That way, you can track all your funds and stuff separately. You can pull funds out of your personal account and fill it up. That's kind of how it works. But Travis Pointer said I recommend offshore accounts. Contact Travis for all your offshore accounting needs, but do not contact him via Travis Pointer. Use his alias name, right, Travis? So either way, set up a separate checking or savings account, whatever it is that you can transact all your funds through. And it's really easy to keep everything separated from your personal accounts at that point. Next one is I recommend getting a payment service set up. So that could mean like some people use PayPal, some people use Wave, there's Square. There's all sorts of different ways of like accepting payments. But essentially what this is for is if you're working with a sponsor and it's a cash deal and they want to be able to give you money, they might have some traditional methods like cutting a check, or they might just want to be able to transfer you funds electronically via a service. And then also they might want to have an invoice available. So for example, I use PayPal. And there are fees that come along with using PayPal, but it's pretty simple. And I can generate an invoice. I can generate terms and conditions. I have it's all traceable, and then like I can accept payment through electronic transfer. So it's pretty cool. Travis just put a note on here too. QuickBooks is really good, and your accountants can have their own login. So that's very good one, Travis. So if you're managing some of your own financial stuff, you can have a QuickBooks account. Your accountant can have access to it, and then you're not like sending files back and forth, and they can come in and monitor your activity, and you can monitor your activity. It's quite flexible, but I do recommend getting some sort of payment service so you can transfer money back and forth. So there is probably a trillion different tips for this. But again, I am not an expert, and I want to start with just the basics here today. So really my last point here. So I had 5 points to make, all right? One was get an accountant or a lawyer or a CPA. And then my point 5 is refer back to point 1. If you're unsure at all, then pull somebody in. It is going to cost money. Unless you have a friend or someone in your family that's really skilled at this stuff and they're willing to give you some time. But it is worth it in the long run to set it up right without risk of doing something wrong and getting in trouble later on accident, because it does happen. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I want to make this a super short show, to the point, and give you some key takeaways, some things to think about. So yeah, thanks for the folks who kind of joined on, and I know I missed a couple of comments here, but thanks for Jeff and Travis and Steve for coming on. Looks like we had Dave McKinney, Savage UTV, a couple other folks that joined too. So, yeah, I have basically I got one more comment here that I want to read, and then one last point to make, and then I'll kind of close things out. So yeah, Travis just kind of said your first point was the most important. Get professionals to set everything up so you get it done correctly. Yeah, cheaper to do it correctly the first time. So, it might feel a little overwhelming to drop, probably minimum a couple $100 into something like this. And depending on how big you are, it might be a lot more than that. But yeah, it could prevent some bigger issues down the road. So definitely recommend that. My last point that I want to make before closing out this show is I'm going to be at SEMA next week. I'm going to be with Eaton. So Eaton Corporation, to do differentials, superchargers, bunch of different valve train components, transmissions, things like that. I'll be at SEMA. I'll be in that booth. And also I'm going to be walking around. Most of the time I'm going to be spent, I think it's called the Upper South Hall. I've never been to Las Vegas Convention Center before, but so I'm not exactly sure if I'm calling it out right, but that's where I plan on being, and that's where a lot of the off-road people are at. So when I'm there, basically I want to put kind of a thing out to the audience here. If you're at the show and you have a truck or something on display that has Eaton products in it, let me know, because I'm going to be walking around doing interviews and basically asking people for testimonials about the Eaton products. So yeah, if you're there and you're interested in doing that, let me know. Or if you're sponsored by Eaton, let me know, and then I'm going to be doing some interviews for that too. But that's pretty much it. I appreciate everybody for hopping on and joining us today. But I'm going to leave you with this. Have fun and ride safe.